It was supposed to be an ordinary day on Earth. People went to work, children went to school, and the world seemed peaceful, like any other day. But deep in the quiet of space, something was about to change everything. In the distant corners of the galaxy, a fleet of alien ships was watching Earth. These aliens had been observing humanity for years, but they had always considered humans too weak, too unorganized, and too primitive to be a real threat. They had seen the human struggle, the wars, and the divisions. They had believed humanity would never unite against a common enemy. But they were wrong, very wrong. It started on a small, peaceful colony on the outskirts of Earth's influence. This colony had been thriving for years, with families living in harmony, their daily lives unbothered by the larger conflicts of the galaxy. The humans there had no idea that their world was about to become the focal point of something far bigger than they could ever imagine. At first, the signs were subtle. The sky began to darken. No one knew why. The people of the colony looked up, unsure of what was happening. Some of them thought it was a storm, a meteor shower perhaps. But the storm never came. Instead, the first blast hit. A blinding flash of light filled the sky, followed by a wave of heat and pressure so intense that the ground trembled beneath their feet. The colony's defenses were activated almost immediately, but they were far too slow. The alien ships, which had approached in silence, were already upon them. There was no warning, no communication, just destruction. The aliens had arrived with a single purpose: to annihilate. Massive explosions ripped through the colony. Buildings that had stood for years crumbled in seconds. The people, many of them unaware of what was happening until the last moments, had no chance. There was no time to flee, no time to hide. The attack was too sudden, too overwhelming. In the chaos, the small colony, which had once been a symbol of human achievement and peace, was reduced to nothing. No survivors, just smoke and ash. The news reached Earth soon after. The devastation was broadcast across the planet. Everyone saw it. The attack, the destruction, and the horrifying reality of the alien assault. The images of burning cities, fallen structures, and the lifeless bodies of humans filled the screens. Earth had never seen anything like it. Panic spread through the population. The governments of Earth scrambled for answers. The alien ships were too powerful, too advanced for humanity to deal with on its own. The human race was not ready for this kind of war. The alien attackers had shown no mercy, and their motives were still unknown. Were they after resources, revenge, or was this just the beginning of something much worse? As the planet watched in fear, one thing became clear: humanity had been attacked, and Earth would not just sit back and wait to be destroyed. In the days that followed, world leaders convened, first in secret, then publicly. They knew that this could not be ignored. The message was clear: Earth would fight back. The people of the planet began to rally together, despite their differences. They all understood one thing: if Earth fell, nothing would remain. The military forces of Earth, which had been scattered across different countries and regions, now united under one banner. This was no longer a fight for a single nation. It was a fight for the survival of the human race. Plans were made, weapons were gathered, and the resources of the planet were mobilized. Earth's response was swift, but it wasn't just about preparing an army. It was about survival. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity was not weak, that they could fight, that they would fight, and that no one would ever underestimate them again. The alien attack had shown the humans just how vulnerable they were. For centuries, Earth had been a relatively quiet planet in the vast expanse of the universe. Now they knew that they were not alone, and that some of the most powerful forces in the galaxy had their eyes on them. In Earth's largest spaceports, engineers and military experts worked around the clock. Plans for defense systems were drawn up, weapons were tested, and the construction of ships designed for battle began. Earth was preparing for war, but it wasn't just any war. It was a war that could decide the future of humanity. The people of Earth knew they had to win. Failure was not an option. As Earth began to rebuild its defenses, one question hung in the air. How would they respond to the alien fleet? How could humanity, still recovering from its own internal struggles, stand against such a powerful and sudden attack? On Earth's largest military base, a general who had seen the worst of war, General Carter, stood staring at a holographic map of the galaxy. His mind raced as he considered the alien threat. They had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. The fleet would be built. Ships would be ready. Soldiers would be trained. And when the time came, humanity would strike back with everything it had. Earth had been attacked, and now Earth would make sure the galaxy would never forget the cost of underestimating humanity. This was the moment that everything would change. The attack that began with fire and destruction would be answered with fire and fury. Earth was no longer just a planet on the fringe of the galaxy. It was a force to be reckoned with, and it was coming for those who had dared to attack the innocent. The days after the attack were a blur. Earth was no longer the same. People who had once gone about their daily lives, unaware of the vastness of the universe, now lived in a constant state of alert. The destruction of the colony had shaken humanity to its core. The news of the attack spread like wildfire, and the entire planet seemed to pause in grief and fear. The alien ships had not only killed countless innocent lives, but had also shattered the illusion that Earth was safe in its corner of the galaxy. The global leaders, once divided by politics and borders, had united under the banner of survival. It wasn't about countries anymore. It was about humanity as a whole. And every citizen, whether they were military or civilian, knew their role in this new reality. The message was simple. The alien threat would not be tolerated. Earth was preparing to fight back. General Carter stood at the head of a massive conference room, surrounded by military strategists, engineers, and leaders from every corner of the world. The holographic map of Earth's defenses, once a mere projection of theoretical scenarios, was now real. Earth was building its first fleet of warships, and the generals were no longer discussing what might happen. They were preparing for what would happen. "We don't have the luxury of time," General Carter began, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of what was to come. "The aliens will come again. We don't know when, but we know they won't stop." The attack on the colony was only the beginning. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. The attack had been swift and merciless, but Earth's leaders knew this was not a random act of violence. This was an invasion, and it was up to humanity to respond in kind. The general paused and tapped a control panel on the table, bringing up a series of blueprints for the new fleet. "These ships," he said, pointing to the sleek, angular designs on the screen, "will be the vanguard of our response. We will be ready when they come, and we will make sure they regret ever thinking they could destroy us." The fleet was being built with urgency. The ships were a blend of cutting-edge technology and human ingenuity. Earth's engineers had worked around the clock, designing warships that could rival anything the aliens had brought to their doorstep. The ships weren't just armed with lasers and missiles. They were equipped with powerful shielding, advanced stealth capabilities, and weapons designed to pierce the strongest armor. These ships were Earth's message to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer helpless. But it wasn't just about building ships. It was about training soldiers, ordinary men and women who had never considered space warfare before. Now, they were undergoing intense military training, learning how to operate advanced technology and survive in the harsh conditions of space. Earth was assembling an army like no other, and it was led by the promise that the first strike would not be the last. The aliens had attacked the innocent, and now they would face the wrath of a united planet. Meanwhile, the rest of the world mobilized. Factories that had once built consumer goods now churned out weapons and armor. Research teams were dedicated to understanding the alien technology left behind on the destroyed colony. Earth scientists worked feverishly to reverse engineer anything that could help them gain an edge in the coming war. The aliens had shown their strength, but humanity had something they didn't: resourcefulness, determination, and a will to survive. In the midst of all this preparation, there were whispers of another force that could turn the tide. It was said that Earth had an ally in the shadows, one that had been watching the alien fleet long before the attack. This mysterious force had kept its distance, waiting for the right moment to make its move. Some said it was another alien species, one with a history of opposing the invaders. Others believed it was a forgotten power, long lost to history. But the truth was, no one knew for sure. And until that mysterious ally revealed itself, humanity had only one choice: to stand strong and fight alone. As the days passed, Earth's forces grew. Spaceports once used for commercial trade were now bustling hubs of military activity. Troops boarded ships, cargo holds were filled with weapons, and technicians worked to ensure everything was ready for the day the fleet would leave Earth's atmosphere. That day was fast approaching, and the people of Earth could feel it in their bones. On every street corner, in every city, there was one constant message: Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored. It was no longer the weak, vulnerable world that had been picked off one by other galactic powers. Earth was now a force in its own right, and the galaxy was about to learn that it would not stand by while its people were slaughtered. As the fleet grew in strength, Earth's leaders sent a message across the stars, directed at the alien invaders. The message was simple, but powerful. You attacked the innocent. Now, we will make you pay. Humanity was ready. The countdown had begun. The question wasn't whether Earth would fight. It was whether the aliens were prepared for the full fury of a planet united. In the dark expanse of space, the alien fleet waited, unaware of the storm that was building on Earth. They had made the mistake of underestimating humanity once. Now, they would pay the price. The final battle was coming, and Earth was ready to answer the call. The tension on Earth was palpable. Every city, every community, every family could feel the weight of what was coming. The world had already changed irrevocably, and there was no going back. The entire planet had united in purpose, driven by one shared goal: to defend their home. Across the globe, Earth's fleet was slowly taking shape. The military had spared no expense in making sure the ships were built as quickly and efficiently as possible. It wasn't just about the size of the fleet or the power of the weapons. It was about ensuring the crew had every advantage. Every ship had been carefully designed to give its crew the edge, equipped with advanced training simulators, state-of-the-art communication systems, and the latest in defensive technology. But the real secret to Earth's success wasn't just the technology. It was the human spirit. Earth's citizens had been through so much. They had witnessed the brutality of the alien attack, the loss of countless lives, and the overwhelming fear of the unknown. But they had something that the aliens didn't: unity, resilience, and a fierce will to protect their home. On the launch pad, a massive warship, dubbed Fortitude, was ready. It was the largest and most powerful ship ever built by humanity. Standing on the observation platform, General Carter watched as the final preparations were made. The ship's engines hummed softly, its shields pulsating with energy, and the weapons systems locked into place. The Fortitude was the pride of Earth's military, and it would lead the charge when the time came. Behind him, a young officer named Lieutenant Sarah Fields stepped forward, clipboard in hand. She had been with the fleet since the early stages of its formation, and her expertise in military strategy had earned her a place at Carter's side. She had seen the design plans for the fleet and knew just how critical this ship would be to their success. "General, Fortitude is ready for launch," Lieutenant Fields reported, her voice firm but respectful. General Carter nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive vessel. "Good. Let's make sure it stays that way. We can't afford any mistakes." As she turned to leave, Carter's mind wandered. The fleet was ready, yes, but they were still facing an unknown enemy. The aliens had been powerful enough to destroy a human colony, and they had shown no signs of retreating. Earth's forces had been preparing for months, but Carter couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of something much bigger. The fleet would face its first real test soon, and he wasn't sure whether humanity was truly prepared for what was to come. Across the globe, other ships were ready for launch, each one with its own purpose. Some were equipped with heavy firepower, others with advanced stealth technology. Some were designed for long-range combat, while others would engage in close-quarters battles. Every crew member, from the highest-ranking officer to the newest recruit, knew their role. They had been trained for this moment, and they would face the aliens with everything they had. On Earth's surface, preparations continued. The military had been given command of the spaceports, and the civilians were busy fortifying their cities. While the fleet prepared for its journey into the stars, the people on the ground prepared for the inevitable alien retaliation. It wasn't just the military that would be fighting. It would be every person, every family, every community that stood united in defense of Earth. In a small town in the middle of nowhere, a group of civilians gathered together, each one with a different skill to contribute. Some were engineers, others were medical personnel, and a few were former soldiers. They had been preparing for months, quietly training for a war they never thought would come. But now, they knew they had a part to play. Earth had already been attacked once, and they wouldn't let it happen again. As the fleet assembled, Earth's leaders made a decision. It was time to send a message to the alien invaders, one that would echo through the stars. A broadcast was made to every corner of the galaxy, a direct message aimed at the heart of the alien fleet. It was a simple message, but one that would resonate with power. Humanity will not be destroyed. We will not kneel. We will fight. The message was short, but its impact was immediate. On the other side of the galaxy, the alien fleet began to stir. The news of Earth's mobilization reached their commanders, and they began to prepare for what they believed would be an easy victory. They had never faced an enemy like humanity, but they would soon learn that Earth was not a world to be underestimated. As the final countdown to launch began, the fleets of Earth took their positions, ready to ascend into the cold expanse of space. General Carter and his team were there, watching as the ships ignited their engines and soared into the heavens. One by one, the ships of Earth's fleet lifted off, rising into the sky like a powerful signal. It wasn't just a fleet of warships. It was a message to the universe. Humanity had faced its darkest hour, and now it was ready to show the galaxy that it would not go down without a fight. And somewhere, in the depths of space, the alien fleet watched, unaware of the storm that was coming their way. The battle for Earth had begun. The fleet of Earth had left the atmosphere. It was a sight that no one on Earth would ever forget. People watched from the planet's surface as the ships ascended into space, a powerful testament to humanity's strength and unity. It wasn't just a military force. It was a statement. They were no longer the small, quiet planet in the corner of the galaxy. Now, they were a force to be reckoned with. General Carter stood aboard the Fortitude, his eyes scanning the vast emptiness of space. The ship was massive, its sleek hull gleaming in the starlight. It was surrounded by dozens of other warships, all equipped with the latest technology. Yet, even with all the firepower they had, Carter couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The fleet had spent months preparing, and now they were heading into the unknown, to face the alien force that had attacked the innocent. On the bridge of the Fortitude, Commander Sarah Field stood at attention, monitoring every system. The ship was silent, its crew focused and alert. The hum of the engines and the quiet clicks of the control panels filled the room. Despite the outward calm, there was a tension in the air. Everyone knew what was at stake. "Commander Fields," General Carter said, turning to her, "how far are we from the alien fleet?" Sarah glanced at the star map projected on the wall. The alien fleet had been detected moving toward Earth's sector. The long-range scanners had confirmed their course, and it was clear they were coming. However, they were still out of range, too far to engage in combat just yet. "About 3 days, sir. We should be within striking distance soon." Carter nodded, feeling the weight of the decision that lay ahead. "Prepare the fleet for potential combat. I don't want to be caught off guard. We'll need to act quickly when we get there." "Understood, General." As the fleet cruised toward its destination, Earth's people waited anxiously. News broadcasts had been filled with images of the ships launching, and now the anticipation was building. The first strike against the alien invaders was imminent. The entire planet was watching, holding its breath. Would Earth's fleet be ready for what lay ahead? Would humanity finally show the invaders that they were not to be underestimated? Back on the alien side, the invaders had been monitoring Earth's fleet for some time. They had seen the ships rise into space and knew that Earth was preparing for a fight. But they weren't worried. To them, humanity was a primitive species, one that had no chance of standing up to their advanced technology. They had destroyed a human colony with ease, and they expected Earth's fleet to be no different. Their commanders, seated in their war room aboard the lead ship, laughed at the idea that such a small, insignificant planet could pose any real threat. "Let them come," one of the commanders said, his voice cold. "We will crush them like we did the others. They will learn their place." But even as the alien commanders spoke with confidence, there was an undercurrent of caution. They had underestimated humanity once before, and this time, the humans were coming with an entire fleet of warships. The alien fleet was a massive force, much larger than Earth's. They had advanced technology that made their ships formidable, with shields capable of absorbing almost any form of energy and weapons that could destroy entire cities with a single strike. But what they didn't understand was that Earth's greatest strength wasn't just in their ships or their weapons. It was in their resolve. Back on Earth's fleet, the tension was rising. As the ships neared the edge of their known space and entered the uncharted territories of the alien empire, the crew knew that the moment was almost upon them. General Carter stood once again on the observation deck, looking out at the black void of space. "Hold tight," Carter said quietly to himself, watching the stars blur as the ships traveled faster. The silence of space was almost oppressive. There was no sound, no way to know what lay ahead, except the knowledge that they were getting closer to the enemy. The whole fleet was holding its breath, knowing that soon they would be on the front lines of a battle for the survival of their world. And then, without warning, the sensors on the Fortitude began to beep. A sudden spike in energy, far ahead, caught everyone's attention. It wasn't the usual interference from space dust or debris. It was something else, something far more dangerous. "General," Sarah Fields called, her voice breaking the tense silence. "We've detected a massive fleet ahead. They're waiting for us." Carter's heart sank. The aliens had been expecting them. But now, the time for planning was over. The time for battle had arrived. "Prepare the fleet for combat," Carter ordered, his voice steely. "We won't give them a chance to strike first." The ships around him began to shift into formation, weapons powering up. The energy shields on every ship flared to life. The silence of space was shattered by the hum of Earth's fleet preparing for war. But even as the ships readied for battle, the crew knew that there was something else, something more than just weapons, on their side. The alien fleet had underestimated Earth's resolve. They had attacked the innocent, and now humanity was about to show them the consequences of that mistake. As Earth's fleet moved into position, General Carter gazed out into the stars. The battle was coming, and Earth was ready to defend its home. The quiet tension in space broke as Earth's fleet finally entered the battleground. With every ship now fully aligned and ready for the fight, General Carter stood at the heart of the Fortitude. The massive warship was the spearhead of Earth's offensive, and its commander knew this was their moment. "Commander Fields, status report." General Carter's voice echoed across the bridge. His tone was calm, but underneath it, there was an edge of determination. This was no longer just a defensive mission. It was a statement, a declaration that Earth would not be crushed. "We're in position, sir. All ships have locked into formation. The enemy fleet is ahead. They're larger than we anticipated, but we have the element of surprise." Commander Fields responded, her fingers moving swiftly over the control panels. All weapon systems are online and ready. Carter nodded. The alien fleet, a massive force of ships that seemed to stretch for light years, loomed ahead in the distance. The moment they had been preparing for had arrived, but there was no room for hesitation. He turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the fleet," he ordered. The officer quickly patched through, and Carter's voice rang out across the entire Earth fleet. "All ships, this is General Carter. Today, we show them that Earth is not a world to be feared. We are not the weak, innocent target they thought we were. Today, we strike back. Let them feel the power of our fleet." There was a brief silence, and then the fleet responded with a unified, silent nod of understanding. The calm that had settled over Earth's ships now turned into the undeniable hum of readiness. Each soldier, each officer, knew what was at stake. Earth's future was hanging by a thread. On the alien side, the invaders saw Earth's fleet come into full view, and for the first time, something shifted in the hearts of their commanders. They had been confident, too confident. But as they studied the humans' formation, a small, unsettling thought began to creep into their minds. Perhaps Earth was more capable than they had assumed. "Prepare to engage," the lead alien commander said, his voice low and controlled, but with a slight tinge of uncertainty. "Let us remind them why they should never have challenged us." The alien ships began to power up their weapons. The immense energy coursed through their massive hulls, ready to unleash destruction. Their fleet was far superior in both numbers and firepower, but they didn't yet understand the true strength of their adversary. The silence that filled space was eerie. There were no words, no communication between the opposing fleets, only the stars glimmering coldly in the vast emptiness. "General, the alien fleet is powering up," Commander Fields warned. "They're preparing to fire." Carter's expression tightened, but he didn't show fear. Instead, he straightened, his gaze fixed on the endless void before them. It was time. "Prepare to engage," Carter said firmly. "We strike first. Fire when ready." The fleet's cannons rumbled to life. The first salvo of missiles shot from the Earth's ships, a blinding wave of power streaking toward the enemy. The missiles accelerated faster than any alien ship could anticipate, hitting their marks with surgical precision. Explosions filled the cold expanse of space as the first alien ship was struck, its shields flickering and then collapsing under the weight of the assault. It was a direct hit to their flagship, and the damage was catastrophic. The alien commanders were stunned. They had expected Earth to falter, to retreat in fear. But instead, the humans were relentless, their missiles striking with deadly accuracy. "What just happened?" One of the alien commanders barked. He could not believe his eyes. Their fleet had been hit hard, and the humans hadn't even flinched. "They're attacking with everything they have," another alien officer said, their voice laced with panic. "Their ships, they've adapted their technology far faster than we expected." The alien fleet quickly retaliated, launching a barrage of laser fire back toward Earth's fleet. But Earth was not caught off guard. Their shields held firm, deflecting the incoming fire with ease. The Earth fleet, despite its smaller size, had the advantage of advanced defense systems designed to absorb and disperse incoming energy. On board the Fortitude, Commander Fields worked quickly, her eyes flicking over the battle stations as her crew worked in harmony. The battle was far from over, but Earth was proving they could stand their ground. The cold silence of space seemed to stretch on forever as the battle raged. Earth's fleet, though smaller in number, had proved itself more than a match for the alien invaders. Their surprise attacks had caught the aliens off guard, but the alien commanders quickly rallied their forces. The humans, it seemed, were not just defending their homeworld. They were fighting to survive, and that made them dangerous. General Carter stood at the helm of the Fortitude, his fingers gripping the armrest of his chair. His eyes scanned the battle unfolding on the view screen. He had seen many battles in his time, but this was different. It wasn't just the sheer force of the enemy's fleet that worried him. It was the way the humans had adapted so quickly, how they had turned their own limited resources into an almost unstoppable force. "Commander Fields," Carter said, his voice steady despite the tension. "What's our status?" "We've sustained some damage, sir. Our shields are holding, but our energy reserves are getting low. The enemy's firepower is overwhelming, but we're holding our ground for now," Fields replied, her face grim. "We'll need reinforcements soon. The alien fleet is still larger, and their retaliation is increasing." Carter nodded. He knew time was running out. Earth's fleet had managed to deal significant damage, but the aliens were regrouping, adapting their strategies to Earth's tactics. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were adjusting their approach. It was only a matter of time before they started using their full strength. But Carter had one more card to play, one that no one, not even the aliens, had expected. "Activate the final weapon," he ordered, his voice calm but with an edge of finality. "Let's show them the true strength of humanity." Fields didn't hesitate. She turned to her officers, her eyes sharp with determination. "Prepare the quantum drones. Initiating final weapon protocol." The officers scrambled, quickly entering commands. Carter could feel the shift in the air, a sense of anticipation building on the bridge as everyone knew the stakes had just been raised. The quantum drones were a new weapon, an experimental piece of technology that had been developed just in case Earth ever faced a threat like this. The drones were fast, stealthy, and armed with enough firepower to obliterate entire fleets in seconds. On the screen, the alien fleet began to move into a new formation. They had regained their composure after the initial shock, and now they were closing in on Earth's forces, ready to unleash everything they had left. Carter watched them carefully. The aliens thought they had humanity cornered, but they didn't know what was coming. "Drones deployed," Commander Fields reported. "They're in position, ready for launch." General Carter leaned forward, watching the view screen as the small fleet of quantum drones shot out from the Fortitude's belly. They were invisible to the enemy's sensors, cloaked in a field of disrupted frequencies, moving at speeds the aliens couldn't track. With each passing second, the drones grew closer to the heart of the alien fleet. "Fire," Carter said, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The first wave of drones fired their weapons. The blasts were like thunder in the silence of space, lightning fast and impossible to dodge. The alien ships, still unaware of the drone's presence, were struck without warning. Shields buckled, hulls shattered, and explosions erupted across the alien fleet in rapid succession. The alien commanders were thrown into chaos. They had no time to react, no time to adjust. The quantum drones moved too quickly, striking at critical systems and crippling entire sections of their fleet. In mere moments, their advanced ships were reduced to burning wrecks in space, and the remaining ships were now scrambling to regroup. "What the hell is happening?" one alien commander shouted, his voice filled with panic. "We're being attacked from the inside. Their technology. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." The chaos in the alien ranks was palpable. Their shields were useless against the quantum drones, and their weapons couldn't track the fast-moving targets. It was as if Earth's fleet had unlocked the secrets of their enemy's weakness and exploited it to the fullest. Back on the Fortitude, General Carter watched the destruction unfold, his face impassive. He knew this wasn't over yet. The aliens were resilient, and they still outnumbered Earth's fleet. But they had crossed a line. They had attacked Earth, and now they were feeling the full force of humanity's unexpected power. "Commander Fields," Carter said, breaking the silence, "keep up the pressure. Let them know this was their last mistake." Fields nodded sharply. "Yes, sir. We'll finish this." The battle was far from won, but Earth had just shown the aliens a taste of what humanity was capable of. It wasn't just about weapons or technology. It was about willpower, about doing whatever it took to protect what mattered. As the alien fleet reeled from the unexpected assault, the remaining ships quickly turned tail, retreating into the vastness of space. They had come to conquer Earth, but they had underestimated the humans. Now, they were retreating, their once confident commanders silent as they ordered a full withdrawal. On the bridge of the Fortitude, Carter stood tall, his gaze fixed on the retreating enemy. This was a victory, but it came with a heavy cost. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The aliens would come back. They always did. But now, they knew one thing. Earth was not a world they could easily conquer. The fleet had sent its message loud and clear. Never underestimate humanity. General, we've damaged their flagship, but their forces are regrouping. Fields said, urgency in her voice. We need to push harder. General Carter's eyes narrowed as he stared at the alien fleet, still unyielding, still dangerous. The damage to their flagship was a good sign, but it wasn't enough. The aliens had more ships, more weapons, and more strength than Earth could have hoped to destroy in one strike. We need to end this, Carter muttered, his jaw clenched. He knew there was no turning back now. He turned to Fields and gave the order. Prepare the final strike. We'll give them a taste of humanity's resolve. As Earth's ships lined up for the final assault, the alien fleet, now fully aware of the threat before them, regrouped in defense. It was clear that Earth's fleet wasn't the underdog anymore. The playing field had shifted, and for the first time, the invaders felt the fear they had once laughed off. The battle wasn't over, but Earth had made its mark. The moment they attacked the innocent, Earth sent the fleet. And now, the invaders would know what it meant to face humanity's fury. The battle had quieted, but the silence felt even more profound than before. The alien fleet, once so mighty and confident, had retreated into the dark void of space, nursing its wounds and regrouping. The remaining Earth ships were battered but victorious, and General Carter stood silently on the bridge of the Fortitude, watching the stars flicker in the distance. His eyes were heavy, his thoughts racing. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. The aliens might have been driven back for now, but they would come again. And when they did, humanity would be ready. General, the enemy has retreated. No ships are showing on the scanners. Commander Fields said, breaking the stillness. We've won this round. Carter exhaled slowly, the weight of the situation settling on him. Yes, we've won, but it's only a matter of time before they try again. We can't let our guard down. This victory is a warning, not the end of this war. Fields nodded. She understood the gravity of his words. The humans had been able to push back the aliens, but at what cost? Earth's fleet had taken damage, and there was always the looming fear that the aliens would bring back an even greater force next time. But Carter was right. This was just the beginning. General, Fields said, the fleet is ready to send the signal. Shall we begin? Carter's gaze remained fixed on the distant stars. He didn't answer immediately, weighing his decision. Earth had fought back, yes. But they needed to send a message to the entire galaxy, a message that would echo far beyond the reaches of their solar system. The universe needed to know that humanity wasn't weak, that they weren't just a planet to be bullied or overlooked. They had shown the aliens their strength, but it was time to make sure the rest of the galaxy understood it too. Send it, Carter said finally, his voice steady but resolute. Fields turned to her console, her fingers dancing across the keys. A signal was sent across the stars, a message broadcast on frequencies that could only be intercepted by those who truly knew how to listen. It was a silent message, not words or sound, but something far more primal, a message of defiance, strength, and survival. It was the signal that would reach the farthest corners of the galaxy. Back on Earth, the first signs of recovery were already visible. The battle had left scars, but the people were resilient. Their world had been attacked, but they had fought back and held their ground. The momentary shock had passed, replaced by a renewed sense of unity. Humanity knew what it had to do. They knew what was at stake. Across the galaxy, ships that had once ruled with arrogance and domination now had a different outlook. They had seen what happened when Earth's defenders were pushed too far. Some would prepare for another assault, but others, wiser, began to rethink their strategies. Some began to doubt their assumptions about humanity's place in the galaxy. Back on the Fortitude, General Carter stood still, gazing out the view screen as the stars drifted by. His mission was far from over. The aliens might have retreated, but Earth's real fight was just beginning. "General," Fields said, her voice softer now, "what will we do next?" Carter turned slowly, meeting her gaze. He didn't need to say much. The decision was already clear. We prepare for whatever comes next. We're not just fighting to defend Earth anymore. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humanity won't be a footnote in their history. We're not just survivors. We're a force. The crew of the Fortitude stood silently, understanding the weight of the words. Humanity had proven its power, its resolve. The aliens who had dared to attack Earth now knew that the humans were not to be underestimated. They had learned a harsh lesson, one that would echo through the stars for years to come. And as Earth's fleet lingered on the edge of the unknown, ready for whatever challenge came next, one thing was certain: they had sent a message. It was a message that would forever change the way the galaxy viewed humanity. The moment they attacked the innocent, Earth had sent its fleet, and the galaxy would never forget.